This is the third film and final film in the Brad Jones films I'm going to be looking at. This one, as you may know from my previous reviews, is my favourite one. I've done them in order from my least favourite to my most favourite of the three. Least favourite being Game Boys, second best being Freak Out, which is pretty darn good. But this one's pretty awesome. I actually think if it got a theatrical release, if if it went with a higher budget and no cuts, didn't make things overly gory as they do these days, and just kept it pretty much exactly as it is, but get better cameras, some better actors, just touch it up a bit, and this would be one of the best films ever to have gone into cinemas. And I'm not joking here. Personally, I think it's one of the best films I've ever seen. A lot of people would probably disagree with me. This film is completely debauched and depraved. It's got so much wrong with it, so much that is just absolute. It's just disgusting. But it's done so well, amazingly well. And unless you watch the film, you don't even understand how well it's done. Like I said, the acting's actually pretty much dead on. It's very good acting. There's probably a couple of areas where it could be touched up on, such as when they're beating up the hobo and everything. That could look a lot better. It wasn't that convincing, but actually, it wasn't so much what was on the screen. It was more the ideas that the film actually portrayed. It was more the idea of these people doing these things. And what the film's about? It's about a few things, because it's got a strange narrative at the beginning. It doesn't entirely make sense. I thought that suddenly congeals into one, I suppose you could say. It just all becomes sort of, you understand it all about 10 minutes or 15 minutes or so into the film. It's a bit odd. The opening title sequence, you're wondering what the hell is going on here, but then that really opens up later on in the film. It has a narrative right at the beginning of about, I can't remember, it's probably about two or three different people, and it's all shown in different ways. So you've got all I really remember is the porn director, no porn producer and distributor, and you've also got some weird guy who Brad Jones plays. And though in this one, like I've said before, he is the best actor there, there's not a lot in it. They're all pretty good actors, apart from two women, like the two main women. Not great actors, but they're still pretty good. Still pretty convincing. A lot better than the girl from Freak Out. But yeah. Oh, I haven't even said the title of this film yet. It's Cheek. Cheek. Now, I did some research into video nasties recently, because I have this whole thing going on about how I want to get all 72 video nasties. I now have 2, and there's 70 more to go. And yeah, I think Cheek might be a reference to, I can't remember which video nasty. It might be I Spit on Your Grave, not entirely sure, but it does say on the poster that it's Cheek, or something along those lines. So I think it might be a reference to that, but I'm not entirely sure. I'd have to ask Brad really about this. But yeah, it pretty much sums up the entire film. It just feels it doesn't look cheap. I mean, it does. It's as if life is cheap. Life is worthless. It doesn't really matter about anyone's self-worth, how much they would be worth to society. Everyone is kind of in the firing line, really. So it's just, that's how I took the title. I don't know whether or not there's actually anything deep into that, or if it's just pulled up or whatever, but to me that's what it meant. But yeah, anyway, it opens up with these different narratives, and you've got a porn producer who's kind of not liking how things are going these days with his finding things get a bit stale and everything, a bit too same old, and the same goes for the actual person who films the porn. And he's come up with this great idea of, well, everyone's heard of snuff films. There's even one of the video nasties called Snuff, but it's not about really that sort of snuff film. This is actually making real snuff films and finding a way to distribute them in the public domain. So he's having to be a bit tricky here and try and find a way not to actually market it as a snuff film, but make it look really good, as if it's real, but could have been fake. I mean, that's the way that it's kind of shot. It's shot in such a way that it looks like disgusting and everything, but people would still sit there and go, "That's fake," even though it looks really real. They'd be like, "Whoa, this is disgusting," but they'd still think it's fake. However, it's not. Everything that happens in the film, everything that happens is real. They really kill all of these people and everything, and distribute it. Well, they give it to the porn producer, and then he distributes it to everyone. And it's quite disgusting if you think about it. But I remember listening, watching the introduction to it that Brad Jones made, and he said at first he didn't like the film. I can kind of see why, but why people wouldn't like it, because it's quite a nasty film. It's really, really disgusting and really brutal, and ugh, just thinking about it at times, it just makes you feel a bit wrong. And yeah, it made me feel wrong after watching it. It made me feel really ugh. But I loved it for making me feel that way. The fact that the film actually made me elicit an emotion about it that stuck with me for quite a while. I don't think I ever want to watch that film again. Not because it was bad, it was a great film. It's just, it meant so much to me watching it that one time. And just, that the effect of the film has lasted with me, and I can still feel it. And it's absolutely fantastic how it's made me feel. Like, it's not fantastic that it's made me feel this way, like the way that it's actually made me feel, but the fact that it's been able to do this is absolutely brilliant. But yeah, the acting, as I've said, is absolutely spot on, top notch. The writing, blimey, I didn't even know anyone could write something this debauched and depraved. It's, yeah, I found it to be absolutely mind-blowing how someone can actually come up with an idea like this. It's quite shocking that Brad actually wrote this and directed it, and these people went along with it. I mean, it goes through so many different things. You've got, you know, killing people. There's also one scene in there that's, oh, well, two technically, which is a rape scene. Rape scenes are generally very badly handled and don't really go down well because it's rape, and it's hard to make, like, actually shoot rape very dramatically without sort of thinking this is a bit gratuitous and this isn't any, like, doesn't really bear any relevance to the plot or anything. Here it does. It really does. It's scary how well it fits into the actual plot of the film. Like, it's just so well done. And I'll be honest with you, I find it hard to say anything negative about this film. I don't know whether or not that's because it's actually got anything negative to do with it, or just the fact that I love it that much. But there is one thing that got me a little bit. It seemed like it could have ended about 3 times, and thank God it didn't, to be honest. But it felt like it dragged about the last 30 minutes every now and then. And it picked up the plot again, but then you thought, oh, well, it could easily end here. Why doesn't it? But no, it didn't need to end there. It carried on, and it was absolutely. I'm so glad that it did. So disgusting at the end. Now, there's not many films that can make me do this, but I was just sitting there near the end of the film, just mouth wide open, just thinking, what the hell? How can they do this? How? And it's sickening. It really is. But because of that, and because it's not like, oh, this is just so gratuitous, it shouldn't be put there. It just feels right for it to be there. And one thing that makes things so sickening is the music choices. The music doesn't fit the scene. It's not like there's a really dramatic scene and there's light-hearted music. It doesn't fit. But that's the point. It doesn't fit the scene. It makes it seem even more disturbing when someone's being cut into pieces and there's some really happy song playing in the background. It's like, I don't know, it's like if you watch the gore scenes in Hostel or something with Afternoon Delight playing, or Mr. Blue Sky by ELO. It kind of makes it a bit more disturbing that those things are there in such, those happy songs are in such a disturbing scene. And kudos to him for choosing these choices, because it's absolutely fantastic. And I honestly found so little things to fault on this film, and it's great. Now, there's one thing that I do have to bring up: the dogs. The dogs in the background barking. Now, I think he dealt with it in Freak Out. I forgot to bring that up. He didn't deal with it so much here, but he dealt with it in Freak Out. And I'm so annoyed that I didn't bring this up. But there's like the dogs barking in the background. They get really loud. And Brad just ad-libs this line, which is just basically shut up to the dogs, just yelling shut up to the dogs. And it fits so perfectly that he rolls with the dogs barking in the background, because it means that he doesn't have to reshoot the take, that he can deal with the dogs barking in the background, and that it fits in with the plot and goes in so well. But I don't think he did that in this film. The dogs were just barking, but they weren't too intrusive. But yeah, of the 3 films, this is the best, and I'm telling you, it is the best by far. It's one of the best films I've ever seen, and it would be even better if it was shot with a higher budget, but not too much changed. It was really damn good. And even though I don't want to see it again, I recommend it greatly. I do want to. I would like to see it again someday, but that will be when I feel that I can cope with watching it again without it ruining what it meant to me at the time. And yeah, the way that it's shot on the low quality VHS adds to the grittiness, and it just makes it so much better that it's all sort of grainy and everything, and all of these dark scenes are occurring. Like, just adds to it so well. The low quality audio as well. It is a bit low quality, but that adds to it as well. So maybe I'm wrong. Maybe the budget would take away from these things. All it would need to do, like some of the audio, yeah, that could have been better. Some of the acting, yeah. Some of the editing probably could have done better as well. And I can't fault the effects. The gore was pretty good, especially for such low budget, which obviously is amazingly low budget. But it looks so good. And oh, what else was I going to say? I was going to say something else then. But yeah, that's it. Because the camera has autofocus, and this was I found to be a problem sometimes in Freak Out. It kind of annoyed me, but in this, the autofocus only does makes the shot blurry in 1 or 2 scenes, And one of these scenes is where um, one of the characters is completely hopped up on cocaine. He's just snorted a ton of cocaine, and he is very, 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 very high. And the fact that the autofocus starts going and causes it to be blurry, and the shot goes blurry and then back into focus and keeps doing that, it adds to it so much. It was a mistake, probably, almost certainly. But the fact that drug-induced state, it sort of, the blurriness reflects how the guy must be feeling. Like everything that's going on, he can't quite gather. He's aware of everything that's going on. He's still causing these things to happen, but he probably wouldn't have done them, and that's where the blurring of the mind, blurring of his actual thought processes would have gone on, and it just adds to it. I know it's probably a mistake, but it's a welcome mistake by far. And I'm prattling on a bit, but seriously, go watch this film. I recommend it so much. I reckon there's going to be so many people that are going to hate it if you do watch it. So many that are going to hate it because it's just depraved and it's disgusting. But that's why I love it. It's done so well to such a good standard without seeming gratuitous in the slightest, and just seems like everything that's there is key to the plot. Nothing there just seems like, oh, it was just put in there for the gore or whatever. It adds to it. Everything adds to it. It just seems so much better with every scene, every single plot line. There's quite a few subplots going on in there that just make it so much more dramatic. And Brad said that he really didn't like this at first, but it grew on him, and I'm so glad it did, because he should be proud of this piece of work. He also one thing that I liked that he said, there are no likable characters in the entire film. And a film usually has to have at least some likable characters. I've said this a few times that I didn't like a film because there were no likable characters. But that's the good thing about this film. They're all bastards. They're all doing these things that are so wrong that you shouldn't like them. You can't like them, because if you do, you're kind of agreeing with what they're doing. And so if you did like them, you'd be like, oh, well, there are characteristics that you can like about them, and there were several times that I did start liking characters. But overall, they were nasty people, and it just showed how nasty the world can be, especially in the realms of film production. Because even though, of course, these sorts of films won't be made, it still kind of shows what the actual film production world's like, where you will get people who decide to copy a film just because it's got to be successful, that people will be pushed down just because of their status and everything, and it's really good. I recommend watching it by far, and I'm going to stop prattling on here because this is getting far too long a video, but seriously, watch it. You'll love it, you'll hate it, hopefully you'll love it, but it's a film you should experience because it's that darn good. And so I'm going to leave off this trilogy with just saying, all of these films are pretty good. Probably miss off Game Boys because it's not the greatest. Brad Jones is a very funny man, but he just didn't do well with this film. It's still a good film in my eyes, but that's because I get the humour. A lot of people won't get it. Freak Out, very good film, very gritty, very dark. I would recommend watching that one, but no, actually, you do go watch it. Seriously, you don't have to go watch it, but I'd recommend it. Now, cheap, watch it. It's amazing, so good, and seriously, you'd do well to go see it because it's that darn good. Alright, well, I'll leave it here because it's coming up to 20 minutes. Oh no, it's gone over 20 minutes now. So yeah, watch these films. They're pretty damn good. See you later.